Vintage?
No, Bygone Era. So this is the Bygone Era card. As you can see, it's great for adding extra dimension and extra distress to it. Now, as I'm putting the card together, I'll show you how to create these little rips and tear effects, and also the distressed edges to it. And I'm going to add some distress ink too. So let's go ahead and start putting it together. Okay, I've started with my card blank, which is just a standard 6x6 card blank. Now, I always make my own card blanks from A4 sheets of card. So this is cut down to 148 by 148. So a basic, about 300 GSM, 6x6 base. Okay, so these are all the bits and pieces that you get on your kit. Now, it does do two different variations. This is the green variation with the green sentiments and the green lace panel at the back. There is a red one that you can use, and there's also some corresponding red style sentiments. So you can do, well, also some red like metalish corners. So you can do a red variation using either the doggy on the chair, or you can use the lady in the corset. So there's two different variations you can make with this particular kit. So we're just going to do the lady today, and we're going to do the same as this one, so we're going to do the green variation. Okay, I'll pop that to one side. So before we actually get to sticking anything down, I've already prepared all my layers with tape or pads or that kind of thing, because you don't really want to watch me sticking adhesive down on everything. Plus it'll take too long. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to start by just clearing a bit of space. I'm going to move everything to one side. Hopefully I should be able to find it later. Okay. Bit of clear space on the mat, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start just distressing the edges of this card panel, which has got the antique script on it with some rose patterns on. I'm going to distress the edge by using a scruffing tool. You can get these scruffing tools from all over the place, but if you don't want to go out and buy one, then you can use something in your existing craft kit, which you probably already have, and I'd be very surprised if you didn't, which is just a standard pair of scissors. So all you do is just open up the blades and then literally just drag it along the edge of your panel, and you get exactly the same effect. Now, the only difference between using a pair of scissors and using the scruffing tool is that that's obviously got a guide either side, the blades within, and literally you just drag it along the edge. So it's got like a built-in channel, whereas the pair of scissors hasn't, but that doesn't matter. So either way works just as well. You can either buy one of those or use your scissors. So I sometimes like to use the scissors because I can get deeper effects by just adding a little bit more pressure. That seems to be more difficult on this, on using the scruffing tool. Okay, nearly there. So add a bit more distress to the edge there. Okay, it does make a bit of a mess, but it doesn't matter when you're not cleaning up. There we go. Onto the floor, just as we like it. Okay, so as you can see, I've now started to add some nice distressed lines to the edge, but I'm going to take it a little step further, and I'm actually going to apply a tear into it about there, and I'm just going to curl that over like so, and then push that in with my thumb there, so you get that really nice sort of aged and antiqued effect. I'm going to do it again up here, so I'm just going to tear in a little bit and then curl with my fingers. You can roll it round an embossing tool if you want to, just to get that little bit more definition if you want to, but you don't have to. Like I say, you can just use your thumb or your fingers just to add a little bit of extra. You can wet it as well using a spritzer with a little bit of water in, and then add your distress effects there if you want to, and then leave it to dry, or you can heat it with a heat gun and that will heat set it in place, so it makes it a little bit more rigid, and you can add some creases and that kind of thing into it if you want to. Okay, so we're there so far. Now I'm going to add some distress around the edges now, so I want to make this a little bit darker just to make it look a bit older. I'm going to use the old standby, which is the distress inks, and a sponge finger dauber. Okay, now there are different colours that you can use, vintage photo and tea dye being the two most popular, but I think depending on the colour that you're having your panel that you're trying to distress, some of them have more of an influence with other colours. Now there's more sort of green in the old paper, the brushed corduroy's got touches of orange in it, the tea dye is a little bit greyer, the frayed burlap is a lot more greyer, but the vintage photo is more of a sepia effect. So we're going to use the vintage photo one today. Put those to one side and then just tap my finger over, load the sponge up, and then I'm just going to go over the edges and add just that little bit of darkness. I find using a finger dauber easier because I can actually, I've got more precision with it than just using a piece of sponge on its own. I sometimes use just a piece of sponge, I've got one here, on a bulldog clip, dab that on and run it on the edge. Works just as well, but this has got more precision to it, or precision to it. Okay, just carry on adding the distress ink around the edge, and just, with it being water based as well, the ink is water based, you could theoretically, like as I said before, wet it again and then just blend it in a little bit more, but that would take time to then, I'd have to set it to one side to dry, and I don't really have time to do that. So I think then that now looks rather lovely. So that's darker now there on the edges than the one that I did previously as this sample, but again starting to look really nice. Now before I stick that onto the card blank, while I've got the ink out, I'm also going to just give the edges, give it a bit of a rub. With it being water based, as I say, you can just blend it. If you've got a little bit too much on and you don't really like it, just before it dries, just give it a rub with your finger. Just load that corner up a little bit more. That's it, just blend it in. A bit more in the corners. And then if you wanted to, you could theoretically, well, you could, not theoretically about it, add a little bit of a tear to this one as well, just to mirror what you've done on the outside, just to make it look a little bit older, a bit more distressed. Fabulous. And then just add some of the ink on the edges there. Perfect. Happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to put that to one side over there, and then start assembling our card. So the card blank, pop that away. There's the card blank. I've not got any ink on my fingers, which is good. Okay, so I'm going to apply this directly. Now if you wanted to, you could distress the edges of your card blank too, but I quite like that that contrast between the two. So I'll just take my tape off. You could of course use wet glue for this if you want to. Okay, so try and position that as near to the middle, so I've got an even border all the way around. Yep, happy with that, and stick that down. With using tape, you can also still distress the edges further if you want to. If you stick it down with wet glue and get right to the edges, then obviously you can't really do that. So that's that one there. Now I'm going to then apply that across the top, but bring it down so it's underneath that tear. And I might just scruff the edges along there, just to bring that in line with the edges on there as well. A bit of extra tape on there, I don't want that, do we? Okay. Just while I'm doing that, I'm not going to apply any distress ink to it because I want to go over the top. But I'm happy with the edges on there. Okay, so we'll take the backs off that. And then about there is good. Okay. I'm next going to use my piece of burlap. Now I am going to fray the edges on this one as well because I want it to make it look a bit more like frayed burlap. So I'm going to go in and give it a bit more welly. I don't want to go too hard on the corners, I don't want to lose the corners. Gives it a really nice effect. It feels better as well because it's not just flat. You've actually got some really nice texture and dimension when you do this. Make a little bit of a mess though. And that's what crafting's all about, making a bit of a mess, getting down and dirty. And then the last side. There we go. Right, now as you can see it's got some faux eyelets in the corners. Now I think it would be quite cute just to pop a hole out from those centres, just to make it look a bit more realistic. You see, you now got a little bit of a hole in the back, so it looks more real. So if you've got just a single hole punch or a crocodile, or what I'm using here is I think it's a Fiskars one. I think the sizing is about 3/8. No, it can't be 3/8. 3/16 probably. 3/8 would be massive, wouldn't it? There we go. Actually, that's 3/8. That's 3/8, so that will be about 3/16, not 3/8. Okay, so we're ready to stick that down. Again, take the back of your adhesive, and then that goes on. Let's see, just a little bit of a jaunty angle, about there. Looking good. Okay, so the next panel is this. Now don't worry about the big hole in the middle because that is going to get covered up. So you're not going to see that. And again, I'm not going to do anything with that because it's already got some distressing on the edges to it already, which is part of the pattern. So I'm just going to take the back off and stuck down properly. That's better. You could really go to town on this using all different types of distress inks if you wanted to. Actually, I'm not quite happy with that, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of white showing. Let's cover that up. I wasn't going to add any more distress ink, but I'm going to now. Let's So after I've cut it out, it's not quite perfect, so I'm going to hide those little lines that I've missed, the bits of white. There you go, can't see them now. It's a great tool for hiding any little mistakes. Okay, so that then can go down like so. Okie dokes. So the next thing is our main topper, which we're going to pop on there. Now what I'm going to do beforehand is I'm going to stick my little fish tails that I've got here. This is the little 3 fish tails. So I'm going to stick those to the bottom of the topper because I'm going to raise that up on foam pads to give that some more dimension there. So I want them to come out the bottom. As you can see on that one, they're going to come out. So they are stuck on there. So I'm going to use just a little bit of wet glue for this one. I'm just going to add a little bit on the bottoms of each, or the tops of each one if you like, and then turn it over, and then to get it even, it's quite easy. Obviously you can use tape, double-sided tape or a tape runner, make it a lot quicker. And then the final one, I might have to just cut that little corner off that one because I've put a foam pad on it. But that's okay, you'll never see that on the back anyway. Perfect. With it being wet glue, you can position it. You've got room to manoeuvre before it grips too hard. Happy with that? Yep, that will do nicely. Okay, so we're going to remove the backs of the foam pads. And then add that to the front of our card. Very nice. Okay, nearly there. Okay, so we're going to add the next sentiment, or our sentiment. Now, because I've raised that up on foam pads, I've put a foam pad on one side of my sentiment, and then I've just added a little bit of tape on the other side, so that evens it out. And we're going to put it, let's put it there. No, let's not, because I haven't taken the back off my foam pad. That's not going to be stuck down at all, is it? Okay, try again. So about there. Am I happy with that? Yes, I am. Okay, so we don't need any of the other sentiments. We can keep those for a later date, for different projects. Okay, so we just have to put our metal effect corners on now. So because I've used the green, I'm going to use the bronze looking ones, which are these ones here, and I'm going to apply those with wet glue. So just put a little dab of wet glue, and this is where the scissors, the tweezers come in, because they can get a bit fiddly. And down with the first. The wet glue is good because this dries clear, so it doesn't matter if you get a little bit on, it will dry completely clear. And the next one, don't want too much, just a little touch. Of course you can use one of those quickie glue pens if you want to. And up in that corner. Making sure I've got the same sort of equal border all the way around. And this one, to put glue on there, it's not making it any easier. And once again, flip it over, and then we can just position it exactly where we want to. Looking good. push it down a little bit. And the final corner. You could mix and match the colours if you wanted to. I prefer sticking to the same. So, tweezers, up and over, and down. Lovely. Okay, I think we're nearly there. Right, so last couple of embellishments. Now we have got some little like faux eyelets again here in two different colours. So what you could do is you could put those on there if you wanted to, or you could put them on the outside. I don't actually think they're needed on the front, but we always like to give you a few bit of extras if you want to. But what I am going to do is I'm going to apply some glossy accents on the rivets. Now I don't know whether you can see there, like in that corner there, I've actually put glossy accents on this one already, and I think it adds a really nice effect. It makes it look a bit more 3D. There you go, you can see them lovely there and there. So I'm going to do that now as a finishing touch. So I'll get my little bottle of glossy accents. This stuff lasts forever. I can't remember when I bought this, but it's starting to run out now. But like I say, I've had it for quite some time, so I'm just going to put a little blob on each of those. And there, and we are done and dusted. Finished. Now, of course, included on the kit, you've also got a little matching gift tag as well. Now, that's got a place for a hole. I've already just punched it out with my hole punch. If you've got a crocodile, it would be nice to pop an eyelet on there. I have got one, but I don't know where it is. I think it might be in the back at the office. Then you can put some baker's twine on that and use it on the inside of the card if you want to, or you could also use it for if you've given somebody a gift with the card, just as a matching gift tag. And there you have it. So you've got that topper left over that you can use on a different card. You've got your red strip that you can utilise on a different card if you want to. So nothing goes to waste, and I'm sure you'll all recycle your bits and pieces like I do. So we'll keep them all safe and in one place, and then we can always make a smaller card with what's left over at a later date. So that's it for this one. So that's the Bygone Era card, number 4 on the Create It issue 2. I hope you enjoyed watching the video and that you've been inspired and that you'll have a go at recreating it. Okay, thanks for watching.